Retired U.S. Army General David Petraeus, also the former director of the CIA. He has a brand new book titled Conflict, The Evolution of Warfare from 1945 to Ukraine. General, always good to have you on. One of the things that struck me about the book, which is an area of expertise, which is something that I hope the Israelis are reading, is about urban combat and the 2004 Battle of Fallujah, the largest of the Iraq War. Bloody, costly, street by street. And we had General Kimmon here not long ago, and he was saying that what Israel is going to face, what the Israeli forces are going to face in Gaza will be probably even more grueling than Fallujah. What do you think?
Oh, it'll be orders of magnitude more difficult. The enemy has had months to prepare the defenses. They'll undoubtedly employ improvised explosive devices, suicide bombers, car bombs, tunnels, a lot of infrastructure that they have. They know the territory very, very well, and it's many times the size of Fallujah. We did a number of urban operations over those years, and then more recently, we watched one that might be more appropriate as an analogy, which was the Iraqi security forces supported by a U.S.-led coalition clearing the Islamic State out of Mosul, a city about the same size as Gaza City. And again, it's very, very challenging fighting. In this hospital bombing, and by the way, I'll take the side of the IDF spokesman any day over Hamas, needless to say. They're in a democracy. The truth is going to come out. They know it. And they've done apparently a very good and thorough investigation quite quickly. But in the case of urban combat, you're going to have tremendous damage to civilian infrastructure. You're going to have considerable civilian loss. You're going to take a lot of friendly casualties. You don't just have to clear every building, floor, room, basement, tunnel. You have to leave substantial forces behind, or else the enemy will re-infiltrate. And you have to do this progressively, sequentially. You have to clear and hold, and then continue farther, spread the oil spot. In fact, it really should be thought of as a counterinsurgency operation, not just a conventional military operation, because you are fighting among the people, and because of the importance of not overlooking what happens after Hamas is destroyed. And by the way, the spokesman today said they also intend to dismantle the Hamas political structure, the political wing. That's different from the military wing, which is the Hamas terrorists and also the Islamic Jihad terrorists.
Right.
But then the question is, what next? Who's going to take over? Who's going to oversee? There has to be nation building. There's going to be restoration of basic services, repair of damaged infrastructure, getting schools, markets, clinics all reopened. You know that. We've learned all of that sometimes the hard way. We learned in the fight to Baghdad that you've got to have a very good plan with a lot of different assumptions, because once you take down the regime and you turn to the folks that said, just get us to Baghdad, Dave, we'll take it from there, that plan proved inadequate. So I think the big subject of discussion, I suspect already between the Israeli generals and the political authorities, is about what comes after. They're going to take enormous casualties to do this. I believe that it's right to destroy Hamas, but you can't have that for naught. This can't be another case where you mow the lawn all the way down to the dirt in this case, but then you pull back out and the remnants will be able to reconstitute themselves. So what follows? Could there be an interim international authority? What is it?
I doubt. I mean, the ambassador told me Sunday that they do not want to reoccupy Gaza. So, I mean, I think.
And the president has said don't do it.
Yeah.
So it has to be some other. So what
the
is
United
that
Nations
solution?
or the Arab League or some group. But
they're going to have to fight, because there will be an insurgency. You know, they'll try to retake control, the remnants of Gaza, and there will be, of Hamas, there will be some of those there. So this is the real challenge, Jake, and I'm not sure it's getting quite enough attention. In the book, we talk about the importance of a strategic leader getting the big ideas right. This is crucial, getting the strategy.
Right.
Vengeance is not a strategy.
And that's my next
military
question.
Military component is some, but you have to do more.
And that's my next question, because I've been thinking about how, and understandably so, but how immediate and swift the response by the Israeli military was in the aftermath of Hamas's barbaric terrorist attack on October 7th, which of course reminds me of 9/11. And you remember when I interviewed you, when I did the documentary about 20 years of war in Afghanistan. And I also interviewed General McChrystal for that same documentary. And he told me something interesting, and I want to get your take on it. Because I said, if you could go back, what would you do differently? Listen to your colleague and friend, General McChrystal.
Right after the 9/11 attacks, I would have made a decision inside the U.S. government to do nothing substantive for a year. And what I mean by nothing, no bombing, no strikes, etc. I would have gone around the world as the aggrieved party and built up a firm coalition for what ought we do about al-Qaeda. I would have done a mass effort to train Americans in Arabic, Pashto, Urdu, Dari, to get ourselves ready to do something that we knew would be very, very difficult.
Now, I said to him, if you were president, you also would be impeached for not doing for not doing anything after the 9/11 attacks.
But he has a point.
But he has a point, and
he does have a point.
And I want you to talk about that, about
Sure.
the idea of you get it horrifically hit, but you take a breath before responding.
Yes. Look, keep in mind, this is much worse than 9/11
Right.
in relative terms.
It's like 35,000 people being killed.
Jake, it's actually over 40,000
Okay.
now because they're up to 1,300. So yes, and so that response, the desire for vengeance is absolutely understandable, and there should be vengeance. There should be destruction of the organization that did this, but not if you haven't thought through what comes after that. And that's, I think, the component of this that certainly is not yet visible. I'm sure that they're wrestling with this. I'm sure part of the reason the president is then going to Amman, Jordan, is to start discussing that. And one would hope that some of the Arab countries in particular in the region that have often expressed sympathy for the Palestinians will contribute to some kind of effort that would enable the rebuilding. And so, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, I think, should provide a vision for what life will be like for the Palestinian people. Not just in Gaza, by the way, but also in the West Bank, something that has just been looming out there for quite some time in any event. Let's let this be a catalyst. Remember, after the 73 war, all of a sudden you had peace between the two warring factions, between Egypt and Israel, and arrangements with Syria and Jordan as well. Of course, a very different situation. Henry Kissinger, I was just in a meeting with him, he could call 4 people and get that deal done. President of Egypt, Assad in Damascus, the king in Amman, and Golda Meir.
Yeah.
There's nobody here to do that. So this is much more challenging in that regard. And I'd contend that the military task here is more challenging as well. It's not tank on tank out in the desert. Certainly there was an existential moment for Israel when Egypt achieved the early success. But once that was resolved, that was a straightforward military operation. This is much more than just an offensive operation, a clear hold and build. You have to then have what's going to follow.
Absolutely. Retired General David Petraeus. Maybe they should call you. You'd be good to helm this.
Thanks,
the book
Jim.
is Conflict: The Evolution of Warfare from 1945 to Ukraine. Please check it out.